tomorrow about basic JavaScript. So we know how to build a Flash app. We build some cool things, but I saw the gap of the basic stuff like HTML, CSS, and we shouldn't let that gap stop you to build cool things. Okay, and thank you very much, Lloyd, and give them a applause.
Okay, guys, thank you for having me in class today. Something that Coder School likes us doing is telling students why we're qualified to teach you guys something. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Eric, please give me 5 minutes just to quickly introduce myself, and then we'll get into the lesson, okay? So just a little bit about me. I have almost 5 years experience building web applications, but most recently I was focused on building mobile apps for this company called Fansipan. Has anyone ever heard of it? Anyone? Okay, it's just basically like a bus booking ticket place. You can buy bus tickets to like any province in Vietnam that you want. Okay, like bus tickets, those sleeper buses or whatever. I built the mobile apps for them. Yes, right now I'm teaching the web class, but I prefer building mobile apps. That's kind of what I like doing. So these are some of the apps I built. They're on the App Store. Just built them for fun, to prove that I could do this job. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get started. Do I have any questions? No?
Can you show me one of your apps?
Okay, yeah. I already opened one up just for this. So this is my baby right here. I don't know why you guys are all here. Who here wants a job after this? Who here wants a job as a software developer or a data scientist? Anyone? Okay, so I came to Coder School because I got a startup idea, okay? And I built it. So here's my app. Let me give you a quick introduction. It's just basically an iOS, Android app. It's a basic app. You have chat. You have a news feed. People can post content. They can comment or like it or whatever, Yeah, something like that. Obviously, you can find, so the big takeaway from my app is that you can find places to go and hang out, right? You can find information, see content such as photos, blah, blah, blah. Most importantly, I want it to be almost like Tinder/Badoo. Who here's ever heard of Tinder or Badoo? Dating app? Yeah. I've used those apps. I think they suck in a lot of ways. So this is an improvement on there. I want to help people find places to go party, find content, meet people. Okay? This is basically the idea of the app. Kind of like Tinder, except different. There's certain things I don't think Tinder does well. Okay? So anyway, that's what the app does. This is my baby. You guys build 1 or 2 apps like this, someone will give you a job. So it's basically how I got my job at Fansipan. I just showed the CTO this job. It's a pretty big company. They got 150 people working there. They have 50,000 bus tickets booked monthly. It's almost, almost $700,000 in revenue per month. Yeah. So for me, I want to become a software developer, yes, to get a job, but more importantly, I want to be able to build cool stuff. I have ideas for apps too. That's kind of what I want. Yeah. So obviously you can upload photos, all that stuff. I built the API, everything. Any other questions? Min, you said just show an app, right? This is just one app. This is just one of the apps. Pretty simple. You have friendships, stuff like that. Here's my friends. And Charles up here and stuff. I'll add Min one day. Okay, so enough of that. You guys aren't here to learn how to build mobile apps, but we are teaching a night class if you guys are interested. So we do teach night classes to build mobile apps. I'm gonna close this. In Discord, you guys will see that I linked you to a bunch of things. Please open this up and take a look at it. Today, we're gonna be building Spotify. We're gonna build this to understand HTML and CSS better. It's a very basic app. We're not gonna worry about anything fancy. We just want to get the layout correctly, okay? Because you guys will find that a lot of times, who here has professional software experience already? I know, Michael. 1, 2 people only? Okay, so I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, right, laying things out is one of the most difficult things about front end, okay? It's easy to make it lay out one time, but can you make it lay out on a small screen, on a medium screen, on a large screen, on a phone when it's landscape, on a phone when it's portrait? There are many different views, right? So if you open up your browser, you click over here, you can see that Spotify seems to work on phones as well. You guys see that? Okay, so enough of that. This is what we're building. I also linked you to a couple things that I think are important for today's lesson. I also gave you a quick description, so let's go ahead and open it up. Here's Spotify. This link right here is a free HTML template. This is the most basic form of an HTML file. I know that you guys have been working with Flask and there's a lot of setup done for you, right? This is also a little bit of setup for you. I want you guys to copy this in just a few minutes and paste it. An HTML file cannot get any simpler than this. Well, it can get simpler, but you'll run into other problems, okay? Here's our instructions for today's class. I copied the gist over. You guys can see the instructions here. Lastly, here's a cool little app. I personally believe that one of the most important things at Coder School is that we show you guys what tools you guys need to know. Yes?
So we're recording the
Yes.
right now?
Yes, I am recording.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so here's another cool little app. It's called colors.co. You guys go to it, all you gotta do is press the space bar. Space bar. And it will just automatically generate colors for you, okay? What's important for me, I tell my class all the time, is I don't care what colors you guys choose, just choose some colors to make it look beautiful. Make it look kind of decent. And it's gonna be difficult, like to pick the colors that look good together. So use some tools that will do that for you, right? And they always pick colors that like complement each other on the color spectrum. Instructions. Okay, there goes that. Okay, let's get to it. Hold on. Okay, so for today we're going to be building Spotify. We're going to be using HTML and CSS to keep it simple and make sure that we have some of the fundamentals, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a new directory. We'll call it Spotify. We're going to move into our directory, okay? You guys can see on the left I don't have a Git right here, or a branch. It doesn't say what branch I'm in, so I can just run Git init. So I've now initialized a new Git repository, right? So we're saying, hey, I plan on tracking this folder with Git. So we're gonna need to do some basic setup to get our app running. So we're just gonna create a couple files. And these are the files that we gotta create. We're gonna create a, for those of you that don't know, touch means just create a file, okay? So here, let's go ahead and change this quick. If I type in ls, how many files do I have in here, guys? 4? I have a couple. These are some hidden files for those of you that don't know. Yes, I do have a couple files. But if we just type in ls, we don't have anything. I'm going to open up my code editor. You guys can see there are exactly 0 files in here that are not hidden. There are a couple hidden files, but the ones that a typical user will see none of them. So I'm just going to touch these files. And you guys can now see that we have an index.html, a readme, a scripts.js, and a styles.css. Okay, we're going to create 2 new folders, CSS and JS. I think that most of you guys are probably using VS Code. Yeah? So you guys can see that these folders are expected in this file, and that's why they're given a special icon. Okay, VS Code expects folders by these names. That being said, let's start small. There's an extension on VS Code called live server, I think. So if you guys look in your extensions, you can see this extension right here called live server. Install it, and then this will help you run your application, your basic HTML file. Typically in Flash, you guys would do something called Python app.py, maybe, something like that, right? To run your server. At this point, if you guys set this up correctly, you don't need to do that. You just need to do Command P, type in your greater than sign, and then hit enter for open with live server. You guys with me? Yeah? So we hit that, we should see that our browser is opens, and we don't see anything. Why do we not see anything here, guys?
Because right now we don't have content here.
Exactly, in our index.html we have nothing. If we stick it in H1 and we say, hello Fansipan, we save it, refresh, we see hello Fansipan, right? That isn't too complicated. So once again, like I said, I linked you guys to a basic HTML setup. This is what every single one of your Flask applications will end up looking like. Something like this. Flask already does some of the magic for you so that you guys don't have to set this up because this is so common. But because we're focusing on HTML and CSS, we're going to copy this over ourselves so that we can get a better understanding of it. So I'm going to save the file, save it, refresh, And we can see we're back to nothing. Okay, so if we're gonna be copying Spotify, I suggest that we look at it. Let's look at Spotify. Where's that? Right here. I'm gonna close some of these links. Here we are. So what are some of the things that we see, guys? We see a nav bar. We see some basic content right now. And then we see a footer at the bottom. So I always like starting early with just loud colors to make it very clear what's going on. Okay? So in order to build this, we're gonna jump to our body. Actually, let me give you a quick high-level overview of what's going on here, okay? Inside of every single HTML file, there's this basic setup with HTML, and inside of this HTML, there's a head tag as well as a body tag. The head tag is used to incorporate any CDNs or any additional libraries that you guys may need. In a few moments, we're gonna be using Bootstrap, maybe Moment.js, and also Font Awesome. Oh, I also actually linked to that, so you know how to think about it. This thing right here, okay? This is a link. We're gonna go to a CDN and grab these libraries for us to use in our application.
What's the CDN?
A CDN is a content delivery network. A content delivery network. Can anyone help me out and tell me what a content delivery network is? Anyone know? A content delivery network is basically a system, a distributed network of computers all over the world that have some basic files that almost every single website in the world uses, right? And people have built CDNs to make our applications run quicker. So for example, I have a file. My server is in the US. A user from Vietnam goes to my website. That file needs to be transferred from the US to Vietnam. That being said, this is such a common problem that people have set up CDNs all over the world where basically, imagine like we're here in Vietnam in this photo right here. If we have to go all the way to the US to get that file, it's gonna take much longer. So CDNs are set up where like maybe we make a request and then that file is stored on a server in Singapore. So the round trip is much quicker. That's obviously an oversimplification, okay? But that's basically what it is. Get the content quicker. Deliver the content to your end user quicker. So certain things that all websites are gonna use, fonts, Font Awesome, Bootstrap, etc. Okay, so we're gonna copy this link, and you guys can look at the URL, and you can also determine that it is in fact a CDN just by looking at the URL. That being said, when you guys copy in publicly available CSS like we did, make sure that we put it above our custom CSS. Here's our custom CSS right here. Okay. So here in our href right here, we're looking inside of a folder called CSS for a file called styles.css, correct. So we're gonna grab our CSS over and we're gonna drag and drop it to CSS. Now we're gonna test this, okay? How can we test to make sure that this works correctly? What is something we can do? So let's go back to our, hold on, let me go back one time, okay? So remember, our head is for having stuff that describes our web page and for importing things. So let's just start small. You guys see on line 9 or line 6 on the left, we have this thing called title. We can change it to, for example, Fansipan. If we save it, and we go back to our browser, we see that the tab has changed. You see the tab up there? Fansipan? Obviously, this gets much more complicated, and we're just breezing through it, okay? So, in order to test that our style worked correctly, let's go ahead and target our body and give it a height of 100 and a width of 100. And then we're giving it a background color of red, for example. So we jump back over here, you can see that it works. And the body should not be having size. I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous. We just met, guys. Okay, give me a break. Okay, so what are we starting off with, guys? What do we need? A nav, right? So it's just an opening and closing tab right here, just like that. So we can target our nav by using CSS. Guys, I know that like some of us may not be strong with CSS, but just know that CSS is not anything super complicated. It just takes a lot of testing, okay? We write some code, think that it works maybe, save it, refresh it. Look at the results. Make sure that it does what we think it does, okay? So we'll start small. I'm just gonna give it a height of 10%, okay? And we'll give it a background color of orange. We'll save it, jump back over to our browser, refresh. Doesn't seem to have worked. Nav. I didn't save the file on the left. What? We got a problem here, Houston. Hi. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we got a nav bar here. Now we need to do what? We need to make sure that there is no margin up here, right? So I think there's padding. One second, I always forget how to do this. So we're gonna do star, we're gonna say margin is 0, and hopefully this works. That did in fact work. Why did we have to style this right here like this, guys? Because by default, your browser will automatically apply some default styling. It automatically does that. That's why we're getting this margin here between the nav bar and the corners. Okay, let me go ahead and switch this to the side. Okay. So that's why I'm gonna go ahead and do star, which means select everything. Select everything and give it 0 margin. I save it. And my live server, the extension called live server, which you guys can see right here, it's running on port 5501 down here on the right. And obviously, whenever I update the file and save, it's going to update. Save it, and it updates. Any questions so far, guys? Okay. All right, so we've already got ourselves a nav bar. Let's go ahead and look at the example again, just to make sure that we got an idea of what's going on. So you guys can see that we have some links over here, and we have an image, okay? So I'm gonna use this shortcut called Command-Shift-C to open up my pointer. It automatically focuses this pointer thingy. If I hover over the image, it will tell me some basic things about it, including its URL, as well as the styles. You guys can see the computed styles over here on this toolbar right here. You guys can copy these styles, you can adjust them, you can play around with them, etc. Actually, I remember this image is actually a tricky one, so I'm gonna look at the instructions because I remember that this one we need to download a different way. So we're gonna look for image, images. Okay, so we can see. All right, let's look at here. So just to give you a high-level overview of what this panel is. This is our tools. Google built these tools for us to help us build software, okay? Specifically, right now, we're gonna look at our network tab, and then we're just gonna click all and refresh the page. When we refresh this page, we can see that Spotify, when it loads, it makes over 100 requests for different resources, images, fonts, style sheets, JavaScript files, etc. And we can just look in here for a specific one. Image. So there we go, we click image. Now we can just click around, we can see a bunch of images. We're looking for, if you guys click over to preview, you can see the actual image. If this is an HTML file, obviously you guys will see the HTML file, right? There it is. This is the one we want. How do I save this? You can right click it and then you click save right here. So we'll right click it, we'll click save. Oh man, this is SVG. I'm actually not gonna mess around with that right now. We're going to keep it simple. I'm gonna stick some links in and make it look ugly, and then afterwards we'll play around with it and make it look more beautiful, okay guys? So we're gonna jump back over to our nav bar. Oops. We're gonna jump back over to our nav bar. We're gonna have an A with href. We'll put a pound in here because we don't actually know what it's going to do yet. Then we're gonna say, what is it? What's it say over here? Premium. We'll save, test our behavior, refresh, and we don't see the results that we're expecting. Why? And it says premium right here, right? This is interesting.
I think the text is blue, so yeah.
Okay, so we'll target our A. We say color is white. There we go, thank you. Sweet. So we've got a couple of these. Let's go ahead and just copy these down. For those of you that don't know how to do this, we'll hold Shift and Option and just press down and up. Okay? That's how you can copy an entire line. We'll jump back over here. We see we got premium. We've got help. We got, come on. Download. We got sign up. We've got login. Okay, so we've got some icons in our nav bar, but they're not positioned correctly. So we could hard code this if we wanted to make it slide to the right, but that is not advisable. Why is it not advisable? Because we want this to look beautiful, right? We want it to push to the side, to the far right, no matter how wide it is. So we're gonna use something called flex. So in our nav, let me go ahead and move this up. Typically the star selector, you guys should put it at the very top. So we look at our nav, and we're gonna say, hey, deflex means this display flex. Flex is basically a system used to position things relative, right? We're never gonna hard code things. We should not be hard coding things because yes, they may solve the problem on our screen, but as soon as you push to production and someone is using a different size screen, it's gonna look like crap, and someone's gonna complain to you guys. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. So we're gonna display flex. We're gonna refresh and we're gonna see that nothing happens. Okay? So now let's play around with this a little bit more. There's another attribute for flex called flex. Oh no, flex direction. No, flex start. Flex start. I'm having a brain fart right now. Flex start. Flex direction. Flex start. Why is this not working? Direction. Okay, we're gonna Google flex start goes with where? I'm kind of forgetting. I don't know why I was. Okay, my bad. It's justify content. I'm tripping right now. Justify content flex end. Okay. This is going to say, hey, stick everything on the end of the row or the end of the container. You see this right here, guys? Or was it just a few moments ago, guys? It was on the left. With flex, everything starts off on the top left corner, right? And the default setting is that flex goes from left to right. Because the default starts off as a row. I know that's a bit confusing, so we have an exercise in this afternoon that we want you guys to play around with. Flexes might be one of the most confusing concepts with styling, but just know that this helps us to stick elements where we want. Okay? And there are many different rules. So for example, right now we had what? We had flex in, right? But we could just do center. If I hit center and I save it, where do you guys expect these links to go? Exactly. So refresh and they end up in the center. There are many different rules. These takes practice, guys. Just practice and like playing around a bit with it a bit. So do flex ends, refresh it. I don't like the way it's hugging the side. So we can do space around, flex in, then we say we say padding, right, is 10 REM. Okay, refresh, and we see now we're getting some spacing. Guys, there are many different ways to put spacing that work, okay? You can do 10 REM, you can do 10 M, that also works. You can also do 10%. The percentage here is based on the container that it's in. I know that may seem a bit abstract, but you just guys can practice with it a bit. So 10% also works. There's also something called 10 view width. This would also work. Okay, they all accomplish the same goals. Okay, so we're gonna do space around. Really want this to. Okay, so the fundamental problem right now is that what? We're trying to stick everything on the right and space it out a bit, but we need something on the left. What do we want on the left here, guys? What do we always see almost on every single website? Some type of icon, right? So right now, I'm gonna be lazy. I'm just gonna show you an icon that we're going to use from this CDN right here called Font Awesome. Who here knows what Font Awesome is? Okay, Font Awesome is just basically a bunch of libraries that give us icons. That's all you gotta think of it as, okay? So we're gonna split the div into 2 containers, okay? And then one of them we're just gonna put in an icon. And then the other one we're gonna put in all our links, okay? So now we can see that inside of our nav bar, we have two divs inside of it. And so one div is gonna be bigger than the other one, right? So let's just say this div right here, the first one with the Facebook icon, let's just make sure the icon renders correctly. You can see it right there, right? So now you guys can see that our icon in the top left is pushing to the far right. But we want this icon to be in the far left. right? And then everything else to be on the right. So we're going to target these. We're going to use our class selectors, right? We're going to say class equals, what do you call this? Logo? I'm sticking with that one, fine. I like it, thank you. I'm going to call it logo. We're going to target, we're going to say width is 50%. Okay, now we're going to save it. My bad, hold on, let me close some of these. I'm going to confuse myself, my bad. Okay, save 50%, refresh. Is everything working? We're not really sure, okay? So I think the problem now is that the nav bar has this display flex thing on the end. So we're going to delete this one, we're going to save it, we're going to refresh it. Why is this icon right here, this container that's holding it, should be taking up 50%. I expect it to take up half of this nav bar. So let's give this a background color just to make sure that we understand what's going on. Give it a background color of pink. Refresh. Did I save this? Okay, that's why I didn't save it. I keep doing that, okay? So it is now in fact taking up 50% of the screen, right? And we want this blue thing to take up 50%, but what was the original problem that we had? We want it to be on the right? So we're gonna go back to our div that contains the links, and we're gonna give it a new class. We're gonna call it nav links, for example. We'll save it. We're gonna apply some additional styles. We're gonna say df, which is display flex. I'll hit tab so that it can quickly finish it for us, okay? Then we're gonna say justify content, flex end. Okay, I save it. Save it. Why is this not working? Nav links. Display flex. Nav links.
Are your nav rules conflicting with your nav class rules? On line 9 versus line 25?
First line 9 in the CSS?
Yeah.
Maybe. Let's
They
see.
both have.
Let me see. So you can delete this? Here we go. Yes, nice. Thank you. So, thank you, Michael. So now we have another problem. You guys notice that like when we're doing CSS, we're always just like one problem. We fix one thing and another problem comes up, okay? So now we want these things to all be vertically aligned, right? We want the pink thing to be right in the middle vertically. So we can do align items, center. You save it, refresh it. Is it justify content center?
No, it's because the div for the logo is a block item and it's taking up the whole line, even though you make it like inline block.
Okay, so for this one right here, logo?
Yeah. Make it display inline block.
Okay, display line.
Inline block.
Inline block. Okay, so we save it, refresh it.
But then also same thing for the other div. It's also an entire.
So this one right here? See that? Nice. Okay, man. Maybe you want to come up here, Michael? Okay. All right, sweet. So we're gonna go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Okay. I'm not gonna do it perfectly for you guys. I want you guys to play around with it yourselves. Okay. I know that you guys have been working really hard for this Flask and this data science and stuff, but CSS is important. I guarantee you guys, sooner or later, you guys need someone like me if you guys don't figure out how to do this yourselves. Okay. Your data science may be sexy as hell, but you got to show the user the data. You know, you need to show them a UI. You're not going to ask them to open up a console and start smashing commands, or typing in commands. You're going to show them a UI that gives us buttons and stuff and make them click stuff. Okay, guys? All right, so we've got a basic layout. We got an icon where we want it. Let's make sure that icon is not hugging the left side. Okay? So we're going to say padding left is, I don't know, 10%. You just play around with it a little bit. That's a little bit a lot. So we'll go to 2%. Okay? And this icon right here, we can make it bigger. We can just say, hey, let's make this font size bigger. Say font size 30 pixels. We save it, refresh it. It is in fact a little bit bigger. Okay, well, this I don't know why We want these on the right. Justify content plugs in. We say width is 100%. Well, that isn't working. Okay, we're just gonna leave this right now. Give me a second. I'll look this up in a second, okay? So that's next now, guys. Let's go ahead and look at what? What do we need to do next? Yes, thank you for your input. Okay, so we're gonna put a div down here. We're gonna call this one. Typically, I see people call it main content. That's someone who I think is a really good developer calls it. So I'm just gonna call it that. So we're gonna call this main content. We're gonna give it a background color of green. We're gonna give it a height of, I don't know, 80% view height. Okay, we're just gonna see what happens. Go back to our side, and we can see, yes, we do in fact have a green box. It's taking up the whole width, and it's got, some stuff going on down here. Okay, so what do we need in here? We need an H1. We're gonna say, what is it? What did they say? Music for everyone. Music for everyone. We save it. Jump back over here. We have music for everyone, but why is it in the top left? Because remember, in HTML and CSS, every single element inside of something, it starts off in the top left. So in order to position this correctly, center both vertically and horizontally, we could look at the styles and then just like hard code it, right? So I could do something like if we wanted to be stubborn, we could just be like, okay, padding left is, I don't know, 500 pixels. Padding top is 500 pixels. That seems better. I don't know. It works kinda, right? But the fundamental problem, once again, is even though this is kind of where we want it, you guys will see that if we slide our screen, it sits there, right? Doesn't that look bad? Think about how this is what we call mobile responsive here, guys. A mobile responsive site. Let's look at Spotify. You guys will see if I make this smaller, the music for everyone gets smaller, right? And it centers. You guys see that all right? Okay, so how can we get that behavior to show up in our site? So we're going to change, okay? We're gonna apply a couple of CSS styles, and I'm sorry I kind of breezed over this earlier, but we're gonna give you guys an exercise in a second that's gonna make you guys way better at this. We're gonna apply something called flex to it. So we're gonna say, hey, deflex, basically just makes this container like mobile responsive. That's basically all that it says. So that's when we do that, we're gonna see that nothing changes. The reason why that is because we need to apply two additional styles. One is called justify content, the other one's called align items. So we justify content, center, okay? And I believe that because this is, by default, flex goes from left to right, it goes from in a row, then we'll see that main content moves from the left to the middle horizontally. So let's go ahead and save, go back over here, and we do in fact see that behavior. Okay, so how can we get this now to move down and center horizontal or vertically? So we'll go back to our code and we'll say align items and center. And it does in fact go where we want it. What did we use a second ago to get everything to push to the end, guys? Flex end. So for example, you can do flex end. And it goes down to the very bottom. But if we're going to clone Spotify, then it should be in the center. Okay, so that looks good. We got everything in the center how we want it.
Just the screen out so they can see. Just the screen out so they can see when you on the app.
So again, you want me to?
So just the screen so you can tell.
Both of them?
Yeah, no, the music for everyone, like just the screen so you can tell when music for everyone always stays in the middle, no matter what. For the one you build.
Yeah, okay, yeah, my bad. Sorry. So you guys will see that it goes in the very center. Okay? Right? Obviously, this gets more complicated later on, but we're going to keep it very simple right now, guys. We're just trying to get a basic feel for HTML and CSS. Thank you, Michael. Okay, so moving forward, you guys can see that we have some additional text. So let's go ahead and stick this down here. So we can say, I don't know, P. We'll paste it in. If everything went well, then it should be below it. We save, we see what, guys? It's not actually where we want it to be. The reason why this is because we want all this content that's in the center of this main content to be inside of its own child div. And inside that, we're gonna apply some additional styles. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this H1. Say, hey, H1 and P, go inside a div. We'll save it, or not save it, but we'll nest the H1 and the P inside of there. We'll jump back over to our at, and we'll see that this does in fact display the have the behavior that we want, kinda. Okay, so I can see that the text is much bigger on Spotify. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go back over to our CSS. Let's target our H1. We'll say font size is 40 pixels. Did that work? Did that work? I'm not sure. So let's go ahead and just change the color just to make sure it works. Save. And it does in fact work. So I think 40 pixels is too small. Do 60, and that looks good. And so how can we get this thing to center? Once again, we're gonna be applying flex, okay? I'm sorry I sound like a broken record for some of you guys, okay? So we're gonna say, hey div, we're gonna say Jumbotron. We're gonna give it a class of Jumbotron. And we're gonna jump back over to our CSS. We're gonna apply this style to the Jumbotron. We're gonna say what, guys? How can we get things to move around left and right, up and down? Yes, we need to use flex. That's the main thing we need to do. So we can say justify content. Once again, guys, you guys see if I do display flex, it doesn't actually do it yet. We need to do more. So say justify content, say center. That didn't work, so we need to do align items. Center. I didn't say this one. Oh, my bad. So the reason why this is doing it is because whenever we do display flex, it always works from left to right first. In order to change that behavior, we can do flex direction. And then you guys can see a couple of different results here. And the exercise in a few moments that you guys will try, you guys will get a feel for what these do. So we're gonna make it a column for right now. We save it, and bam. It does in fact look how we want it to look. Okay, so now we're gonna work on the footer. So at the very bottom, we're gonna create a new HTML element. What is this one gonna be called? Footer. Okay, so inside of here, let's look at Spotify as an example again. How many different things do we have? I know that you guys have been focusing on data science, so maybe like you guys have not touched this, but there's a really important concept called columns and rows and containers in Bootstrap or in Bulma, and you guys gotta study the documentation and play around with it a bit before you guys get more familiar with it. I heard someone here is pro, other than Michael. Who here is pro at this? No? This guy? Okay. Try to stay awake, okay? So right now we need to have some divs right here, guys. Okay, we need to have some divs and some icons. So we're gonna have we'll give it a div right here. Right now we're gonna call it something stupid just to prove it. Okay, we're gonna say row column 1. Column 1. Let's call it column 1 for right now. And we're just gonna apply some styles to be stupid. We're gonna say this is a height of 80%. Background color of, what's the color we haven't used yet? Teal. Does that work? We're gonna see what happens on our application. So I'm gonna save. I don't know if you guys have been shown this, but if you see a little circle up here in the top left, or above the tab of your file, that means that you have not saved it. So sometimes I myself will do this. I'll work and I expect to see changes, and then I won't see the changes that I expect. That's simply because we did not save the file. See how this file in the CSS right here, we don't see that little circle thing above the X? So as soon as I hit save, it goes away and just becomes an X. So I jump back over here, and we don't see anything here. Why? Why, guys? Because our footer is not like styled to show up. So we're gonna give this we're just gonna target the element. We're gonna target the element. So we're gonna say footer. We're gonna say width is 100%. Height is 30%. Say background color is yellow. This is interesting. Why is this working?
Because footer is an inline element and it doesn't have any width or height, even if you specify it. Just put something inside of it, just to, it'll show up.
Nice. Okay, so hold on. Thank you, Michael. Oh my God, thank you. So we say hi. Why isn't it yellow though? I'm just gonna change the div. That's interesting. Okay, my bad. So now we're gonna give it a class. We'll say class equals footer. Okay. Let me jump back over here. Everything can be done with just divs. Save it. Save it. I'm expecting this whole thing to be bigger. Why is this rock working? So just make 30% view height. Okay, there we go. That seems right. That's interesting. All right, we're gonna work with it right now. I think either way, even if we don't do this perfectly, we're gonna learn something. That's how I look at it. My first time I kissed a girl, it wasn't great, but I learned a lot. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of the same. I don't know. Okay, so the problem now is column 1 is what? What's the problem with column 1? Let's compare that to Spotify. It's too wide, right? So we're gonna say, hey, let's make this width, I don't know, 15%. Please work. And it does in fact work. Okay, so now we can see that we're getting 1 column, and then let's go ahead and do this again a couple times. Oops. Now you guys can see what? That these columns went from top down. Why? Because by default it goes from top down. So we need to do what with our footer? Make it display flex. When we make it display flex, it will automatically go from left to right. And we do in fact observe that behavior, right? Okay, so we've got some basic elements here. We're gonna go ahead and give them some margin. Can anyone explain what the difference between margin and padding is, other than Michael? Anyone know? Huh? Both padding and margin have to do with spacing. But what's the difference between them? The difference between padding and margin is that margin is how far an element is away from another element, and padding is how far elements are from the border of that element. So let me give you an example. Do you see how our high right here is in the top left of each one of these divs? Well, if we give it 10 pixels in padding, the high will move in 10 pixels. Okay, so let me show you. So if we give it a padding of 10 pixels, you guys will observe that the high right here will move 10 pixels down from the top, 10 pixels right from the left. So we'll save it, and do we observe that behavior? Whereas with margin, this is how far the element is from the adjacent element. So I'm going to change this to 100 pixels, and you guys will see that now there's going to be a much bigger yellow gap between each one of these columns. So we'll save it, and bam, it does in fact force a much larger thingy, a much larger gap between them. That seems kind of ugly, so we're now going to change it back. Okay, that's kind of over there. How many columns do we have over here, guys? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many do we have over here right now, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is gonna do one more. Save it. Okay, that looks kind of all right. All right. Do you have any questions so far, guys? I know I've been kind of moving quickly. Okay, let's keep moving forward then. All right, so now we're just gonna stick in a header at the top of these. We'll just copy this one over. We're gonna say, I don't know, say H3. I hope this looks good. Say company. We'll jump out to see our results, and we do in fact see company down here, okay? So now we're gonna put in what? An anchor tag. We'll go ahead and put in our href, and we're not gonna this link is not going anywhere. We're just gonna make sure that we know how to lay out our elements correctly, okay? So we're gonna jump back over here. We'll say about. This one is jobs. This one is for the record. We'll jump back over. We can see that what? It looks, we got what we want, but it's not going the it's not laid out the way we want it to, right? So we need to apply some more styles. In our column, we can say, hey, what? Display flex. Then we say flex direction. Come on, Lloyd, type flex direction. Do we want to go from left to right or from top down? Yeah, so we're gonna say column. So refresh. Did we observe that behavior? Yes. Okay, sweet. So we got the column, we got these things going the ways we want. Let's just go ahead and just copy over these. We'll copy here, paste there. You see this one is communities. And this one is for artists. This one is for developers. For you guys. Okay. We're gonna say brands, investors, vendors. Save it. Jump back over here. And we're in fact getting that. Sweet. What if we wanted some space between them, guys? We could do something like justify content, space around. Refresh. And you see that we got a little bit more spacing. Nice. This isn't perfect yet, but I'm not going to build it perfectly. I just want you guys to get an idea of what this is doing. Okay, so we're going to go back over here. Useful links. Okay, we'll do useful links. Useful links. Say help web player free mobile app. Okay, so we jump back over here. We're starting to see the content that we want, right? So now the next thing we need to do is stick in some icons, right? We get some icons over here, right? So we're gonna look at the icon that we already have, the example. Remember, we already imported this library called Font Awesome, right? I know that whenever you guys are using Flash, you would do something like pip install some library, right? And then you gotta import it, right? This is kind of like that, except you do not need to install it because you're getting it from the CDN. It's already on some computer that is available to everyone. So we just copy this icon right over here, this one that, on line 18. We'll go down to our last column, we'll paste it, and we'll move down, 1, 2. So I expect to see 3 icons. Nice. So we do in fact have 3 icons. So there are many, many, many different ways that we can target this. We could target it based on its index, right? We can say the 5th column. The 5th column, I want to treat it differently. Or we could apply an ID. We can target it by the ID. Or we can apply an additional class. So I think the simplest way, the cleanest way, is to apply an additional class. So we're going to say footer icons. We'll save it, and then we'll apply the style. What's the style that we want to apply here? We want it to be display flex, so that it goes from left to right. Why is it not doing that?
Not enough space.
Huh?
Not enough space.
If it was not enough space, it would just simply leave the container. It would what's the word I'm looking for here? It would float over it, I think. I think the reason why it's doing that is because it has a style that's already been applied right here. So now we got to go back to changing it flex direction, row. Okay, let's go ahead and do one more thing. Let's just go ahead and delete this one. I think this will work. Okay, that kind of worked, but then it fucked up another thing. Oh, it did work. Sometimes my computer lags, okay? Yeah, save it. It did in fact work. Okay, so right now we have 4 Facebook icons. I really like Facebook. I use it every day, but I don't like it that much, okay? So you guys can see that, I'm pretty sure I linked to this. Okay, I didn't. So I'm gonna link you guys to Discord. On this website, fontawesome.com, you guys can see many different icons. Okay, many different icons. All you guys do is just look at it, copy this right here, copy the name of the icon, and then just paste it. Replace the word. So if this worked correctly, I expect the first icon to be LinkedIn. So we jump back over to our file. And is it LinkedIn? Yes. Okay, sweet. Should I find these icons for us guys? Fine, I'll find them. Instagram. So we're gonna go back over here. Our first one is what? Instagram. Our second one is Twitter. Damn, Twitter doesn't matter anymore. No one uses Twitter. Okay, no, my bad. We do have Twitter. I changed my mind. We do have Twitter. So the next one is Twitter. And then the last one is Facebook. Okay, fuck, we didn't need that one. Oh, I already have it. Okay. So now I think if we save it, jump back over to our browser, refresh, we can in fact see that that we got the icons, but they're kind of different sizes. You guys can tinker around with it, okay? Tinker around with it and get a feel for it. Okay, so let's go ahead. We have one extra column right here. I think we can just delete it and everything would be okay. But let's just test to make sure. Okay, so it is laid out the way we want, but we want this one to be a little bit bigger, right? I think that's the behavior that we observe. Yes, it is in fact the behavior we observe. So we're going to say the footer icons, we'll say width is, I don't know, 30%. We'll jump back over here. And it is in fact a little bit bigger. So I want you guys, this is my personal advice, right? Give it a bunch of ugly colors like I just did at first, just so that you can see where the elements are. After you're done laying out the elements, where you want them, then you can delete the colors later on, right? So we got one more crucial part of this layout that we need, guys. This thing right here, right? So we're gonna do one more div. We're gonna say, hey, we're gonna put this at the very bottom, and we're gonna give us a class of, this is also a footer. I don't know what to call this. We'll say footer nav. I think it's a bad name. I'm sorry. I'll give you a better name as soon as I can think of one. Okay? And then we're gonna say background color is orange. We're gonna say height is 20%. Okay? I save here, stick something in here. Hello. We'll jump back over to our browser and we can see that this does in fact go down here. Interesting though. Why is it underneath these? I think we have too much margin. We have too much margin on our columns up here. So let's give this a smaller one, say 10. And it does in fact lay out the way we want. Right? Okay, so let's go back to Spotify. We see legal, privacy center. Okay, so we'll give a couple of anchor tags. I'm just gonna copy this one over here. I'm gonna say, what is it called again? Legal, privacy center, cookies. Yes? Privacy center, privacy policy. Thank you. Policy, cookies, about ads. Thank you. We save and we jump back over here. We have all our links. But what? Our links are too close. They're way too close to this thing. Let's give this footer nav a padding, okay? Because remember, we don't want it to hug the inside of our element. We want it to have some reasonable spacing. If you guys look at any meaningful website, right, it's okay to have spacing. There's nothing wrong to have spacing. It's good. It's a visual indicator to the user what's going on. There's spacing between everything, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and give it a padding of, I don't know, 15 pixels. That seems okay, right? And then we see that the layout is what? Maybe it's actually a bit more than that. Let's give it a 10 EM. This is actually gonna be a huge amount of padding. Yeah, it's huge, too big. So maybe it's 4. Okay, that's also too big. 2. All right, that's good for now. All right, so let's go back to Spotify, and I'm actually, instead of telling you and using the colors that I suggested, I'm just gonna look at the colors that they have. So I'm gonna click this icon, or this little icon right here, and you guys can see when we hover over it, we see the color. What's the color? You guys see that in the top left? #0000. So I'm gonna say, hey, let's make this let's just call it black. Ah, fuck it, let's be pro. So we copy that, paste it here, paste it here. Oops, I messed up right here. Paste it here. Jump back to our app. Okay, so this kind of looks like what's going right. But our icons are now the wrong color, right? Our icons look like crap. So we're gonna target anything with FAB, and we're gonna say color is white. And we do in fact see our icons laid out kind of where we want. We also see that red body down there. So let's go ahead and drop that. We don't need that anymore. That was just to get an idea of where everything's gonna lay out. Okay, so this is kind of it. Let's get these. So do you know how in Spotify, you guys will observe that the links at the very bottom, when you hover over them, they kind of turn to this green color, right? So there's an additional property. There's additional selector. There's a selector. All these things right here are called selectors, right? We're going to select a specific element based on a particular value. So what is the selector that we're going to use? Okay.
What does hash 000 does?
Say again.
For the background color, hash 0000. What does that mean?
That's just hexadecimal colors. There are many different ways to color. There's hexadecimal. There's RGBA. There's also CMYK. So these different types of color formats are useful in different types of mediums. So for example, print. Print uses a different format than online colors. Also, Photoshop uses a different one. It depends on a lot of different things, different color formats. So we're now going to target any footer nav child that is an anchor tag. We can say, hey, oops. Any footer nav, the child that is an anchor, if you hover over it, I want it to do color is red, for example. We'll start small. I know this is kind of complicated. You guys need to practice. Then you guys see it. Does that make sense? So line 87 here, guys. I know this one's a little bit tricky. You guys, this is just practice. I don't know. This isn't rocket science. This isn't calculus. You just practice and fucking around with different colors. So right now I'm saying, hey, find the div that has a footer nav. It's child. It's child that is an anchor tag. That anchor tag, if you hover over it, I want you to give me a color of red over it. Okay? I can't remember what this is called. This is called a
Pseudo-class?
it's kind of like a pseudo class, but what's it called whenever something when it has a different element applied to it? It's called a computed value. I think it's called is that called computed value? One second. It is a pseudo class. It is a pseudo class, but there's another one I'm looking for here. There's something here like where you can like make sure it's clicked or hovered.
Transition state?
Something like that. I think it might be that one. There's someone here that you can just check it though. You can just check it and make sure it's on. What is it? Someone help me out, guys. What's it called? Okay, well, we don't need to know definitions here. I know you guys have already learned a shit ton of words in this class, okay? I don't care if you know any words. I just need you to know how to use it, okay? So the guys, we can see that now we hover over it, it turns red, okay? So now we got some basic layout for our application. The icons are where they're supposed to be. The links are where they're supposed to be. The content is where it's supposed to be, okay? Do you have any other questions so far, guys? Okay, so if there's no questions, I'd like to break now and let you guys work on this, okay? Please use Flex to do this. I promise you, Flex is very useful, and I know you guys want to be data scientists, but one day if you guys want to build a mobile app, then you guys are probably going to need to know how to use Flex, okay? And if you guys don't have money, to pay someone like me to do this for you, then you guys need to learn how to do this, okay? Because there's no such thing as an app that's going to build itself. All your apps, you need to have a UI that gives buttons and stuff for users to click, okay? Every single company wants that. For those of you, I only saw 2 people earlier that raised their hands when I asked whether or not you guys had professional software development experience. So the reason why I'm saying that is because that means you haven't yet. So I'm telling you that every single app is going to need a button somewhere. So we got to know how to put buttons where we want, show them, hide them, etc. Right now we're going to focus on doing the layout. And then tomorrow, we're gonna use JavaScript and add more engaging behavior. We're gonna figure out how to change colors and hide stuff and show stuff and etc. Okay? One last time, any more questions? Okay, one more thing, my bad. Flexbox. For those of you who don't feel comfortable with Flexbox, I know how programming is. I've been there. I know how you guys feel. There's this tool on the internet called Flexbox Froggy, okay? Basically, this tool is a little game that you guys play, which is gonna teach you how to use Flexbox. I guarantee you, if you guys learn how to use this, you won't regret it, okay? So you guys can see that basically, we're targeting, on line 1, we're targeting this element called a pond, okay? It's called this blue thing right here. We're targeting that. And they've already applied every single one of these exercises. They've already applied this display flex. So now we just need to do a little bit more to get these frogs where they are. We want them, right? So what can we do here? Can we do center? Justify content center. Would that work? It does work, but it does not achieve our objectives that we want. What's our objectives? We want each one of these frogs to get exactly on their color lily pad, okay? So if we stick them in the center, all the elements move to the center. All the frogs move to the center, but we don't want to stick them in the center. What do we want to do with them? We want them to space around. Oops, that's not it. My bad. I don't even remember. We want some space between, okay? When that runs, we can click the next, and then the next exercise obviously increases in difficulty, okay? And by doing this exercise, you guys will get pro at Flex. And by getting pro at Flex, you guys can build mobile apps. Obviously, that's just what I like, so that's how I apply it. But just know that this concept carries on past the web, okay? Because even mobile apps, you need to put buttons in certain places, put images in certain places, etc. Okay, so guys, make sure you open up your Discord. I linked you to a bunch of stuff here. Let me go ahead and link you to Flexbox Froggy. Okay, so I'm gonna break and then you guys get working, okay? I'm gonna hang out here and answer questions.